You know, when we talk about our digital lives, we rely on this vocabulary that feels intentionally weightless.
Oh, for sure.
Like we stream movies, which sounds like a gentle river, or we pull software down from the cloud, we navigate the web. It all sounds so delicate and invisible.
Right. Like it's just floating around up there.
Exactly. But if you want to understand the actual physical footprint of your digital life, you have to stop looking up at the sky and start looking at these sprawling, fortified concrete structures.
Yeah, the ones humming with industrial chillers and surrounded by massive diesel generators.
That is where the internet physically lives. And right now, deciding whose backyard that structure goes into has become, well, one of the most contentious battles in local governance.
It really has.
So today, our mission is to explore that physical collision course. We are looking at a really fierce battle playing out in Indianapolis over data center zoning.
And we've got a great stack of sources for this.
We do. We're guiding this deep dive using a proposed 2026 local ordinance, creating the SU-47 zoning district, plus the city's internal FAQ documents, and some really excellent local reporting on the political and environmental backlash.
And, the Indianapolis situation, it serves as the perfect microcosm for a global tension.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every municipality right now is staring down this relentless expansion of digital infrastructure. And they're trying to reconcile that with the finite physical realities of, their local power grids, the water tables, residential property lines.
The actual physical stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're watching local city councils attempt to regulate the physical manifestations of the global internet.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because
Okay.
before we get into the neighborhood disputes, we really need to establish the sheer scale of what developers are actually proposing here.
The scale is staggering.
Right. I've been thinking about this industrial era factory analogy. Like in the 20th century, a factory ingested raw iron ore and output steel, and it required colossal machinery to do that.
Sure, massive foundries and smokestacks.
Right. But today's hyperscale data centers ingest raw electrical power and output processed information. And they require just as much, if not more, heavy machinery to manage that conversion.
I'd actually take that analogy a step further, though.
Oh.
How so? Well, an iron ore factory,
Yeah.
it shuts down or at least slows down during certain shifts.
Sure.
A hyperscale facility operates at a flat, unyielding 100% utilization rate, 24 hours a day, every single day of the year.
Wow. No downtime at all.
None. And if we look at the SU-47 zoning language, it defines these not merely as, rooms holding computers.
Right. It's not just a big IT closet.
No, they're highly specialized environments for storage, management, processing, and transmission. This encompasses server farms, cloud infrastructure, and crucially, artificial intelligence training.
Which is just a massive energy hog.
Oh, incredibly resource intensive.
Let's formulate a theory on the mechanics of that resource intensity, because we tend to visualize servers as just, larger versions of our laptops.
Yeah, which is a mistake.
Right, because a single rack of servers utilized for AI training generates heat at a thermodynamic scale comparable to commercial ovens.
Like literally baking inside the building.
Exactly. So the servers themselves are just one fraction of the building's footprint. The rest of the building is entirely dedicated to preventing those silicon chips from literally melting.
Right, well, the thermodynamics are basically the primary challenge here. To dissipate all that heat, you need these gargantuan cooling systems.
And water. Lots of water.
Massive amounts. In many cases, these facilities utilize evaporative cooling, which, draws millions of gallons of water straight from the local municipal supply.
It's just wild to think about.
And then on top of that, you have the uninterruptible power supply systems. We're talking banks of lead acid or lithium-ion batteries.
Just sitting there waiting.
Yeah, and the diesel generators necessary to ensure the facility never goes offline, even if a catastrophic grid failure occurs.
Which brings us to the economic engine driving all this development in Indiana specifically.
The money side of things.
Exactly. The state legislature has essentially created a magnet for tech developers by passing laws that offer unprecedented tax incentives.
Oh yeah, the exemptions.
Right. The most notable one is the option for municipalities to grant an exemption on personal property taxes for up to 40 years.
Wait, 40 years?
Up to 40 years, yeah.
That is, the structure of that specific exemption is what makes it so insanely lucrative for these companies.
How so? Like, compared to a normal business?
Well, for a standard commercial business, the building itself is the primary taxable asset, right? The real estate.
Sure.
But for a data center, The true value lies in the billions of dollars of high-tech hardware inside the walls.
The servers, the racks, the networking gear.
Exactly. And the depreciation schedule of IT hardware is famously short.
Oh, right, because technology moves so fast.
Exactly that phenomenon.
Yeah.
Developers replace these servers and networking racks every 3 to 5 years just to keep up with processing demands.
So they're constantly ripping out the old stuff and bringing in new, highly valuable equipment.
Right. And if they were taxed normally, the assessed value of that equipment would constantly reset to its maximum with every upgrade cycle.
Which would be a massive ongoing revenue stream for the local tax base.
Huge. But by securing a 40-year exemption on that revolving door of high-value equipment, developers save astronomical sums.
While the municipality basically forfeits decades of traditional industrial tax revenue.
Exactly.
So the counter-argument from the state, and I guess the purported benefit for the city, is job creation.
The classic trade-off.
Right. Our sources detail a couple of key projects in the Indianapolis pipeline. The recently approved Sabby Data Center proposes 75 permanent jobs with an average salary of $104,000.
Which is pretty good.
It is. It sits comfortably at 125% of the Marion County average.
Okay, yeah.
And another proposed development, the Metro Block Center, promises 35 permanent jobs at a similar wage premium. Plus, the temporary construction boom required to pour all that concrete.
Right, but this raises an important question, though.
Yep.
If a municipality is attracting multi-hundred-million-dollar capital investments and these highly compensated six-figure technology jobs, what is driving the severe public resistance?
Oh, and the resistance is profound.
It really is.
Between March 2025 and March 2026, 4 separate hyperscale projects sought approval in Indianapolis. Just boom, boom, boom.
That's a huge influx.
And that concentrated influx triggered a wave of localized panic. Looking across the state, at least 10 other Indiana counties have enacted legal moratoriums to freeze all data center development.
It's a complete halt.
Yeah, Marshall County, up in the northern part of the state, went even further and outright banned them in April 2026.
Ban them completely.
Yeah.
And, the core mechanism driving those moratoriums is structural resource strain.
The grids just can't handle it.
Exactly. Local utility grids and municipal water systems were engineered with specific assumptions about peak and off-peak usage.
Right, like everyone turns on their ovens at 6 p.m., but then they sleep at night.
Right. A residential subdivision or a shopping mall has predictable lulls in demand. But as we noted earlier, a hyperscale center operates at maximum draw perpetually.
Just a flat line of massive consumption.
Exactly. Communities are looking at the math and realizing their legacy infrastructure simply wasn't built to sustain hyperscale industrial tech factories.
And that structural strain translates directly into political friction at the neighborhood level.
Oh, absolutely.
Like in Indianapolis, the proposed Metro Blocks project is slated for the Martindale-Brightwood area, and Democratic city councilors publicly pleaded for a pause on the development.
Just asking to hit the brakes.
Right, just until comprehensive zoning standards regarding power consumption, water usage, and environmental stewardship could be codified.
Because the residents in those adjacent neighborhoods are voicing valid concerns about systemic vulnerability.
They're terrified.
Yeah, they are questioning whether the continuous electrical draw will destabilize their grid or if the localized environmental impact will just degrade their property values.
But despite those pleas, the city's Metropolitan Development Commission advanced the Metro Blocks project anyway on April 1st.
Pushed it right through?
Yeah. And that sequence of events perfectly illuminates why the city government felt compelled to draft the SU-47 rulebook.
They had to do something.
Right. Because while 10 other Indiana counties utilized the moratorium strategy, the Indianapolis City-County Council narrowly defeated a total pause resolution back in January 2026.
And the rationale behind defeating that moratorium reflects a really profound shift in civic philosophy.
How so?
Well, councilors like Democrat Bob Osley argued that a modern city cannot arbitrarily ban vital infrastructure.
Oh, calling it vital infrastructure.
Exactly. He drew direct parallels between data centers and telephone lines or power stations or sewer systems.
Which completely reframes the entire conversation.
It does.
The internet is no longer viewed as a supplementary commercial service. It is being treated as fundamental municipal plumbing.
Right. You can't just ban the plumbing.
But acknowledging it as vital infrastructure doesn't make it aesthetically or environmentally benign.
Not at all.
Because the city refused to ban them, they were forced into an intricate compromise, which manifested as the SU-47 Special Use District.
Which is quite the document.
Yeah. And here's where it gets really interesting. I spent time parsing the architectural and spatial requirements of this proposed ordinance, and the city is essentially leveraging zoning law to force technology developers into extensive landscape architecture.
The mandates are incredibly stringent.
Right. Like, initially, any facility constructed under the SU-47 designation must maintain a minimum 200-foot setback from protected districts.
Which mostly means residential zones.
Right. Keep it away from the houses. But they're also aggressively policing the visual footprint.
Like no cheap fences.
Exactly. A developer cannot rely on standard chain link fencing. The ordinance dictates that all mechanical equipment, so those sprawling chillers and backup generators we discussed, must be completely screened from public view.
And how do they do that?
The regulations require fencing or walls at least 10 feet high with 100% opacity.
Solid walls. But the topographic requirements are even more elaborate than that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The zoning language mandates the construction of an 8-foot undulating earthen berm.
Which is just a fascinating concept when you visualize it.
A fake, wavy dirt hill.
Yes. They are demanding developers sculpt artificial, wavy hills of soil along the perimeter, attempting to camouflage an industrial behemoth with manufactured topography.
And accompanying that berm, developers must plant a vegetated buffer strip consisting of 2 staggered rows of evergreen trees.
Just burying it in greenery.
And furthermore, all on-site utility transmission lines must be buried underground to eliminate visual clutter.
It's wild. The ordinance extends beyond mere camouflage, though. It honestly borders on civic extortion in the best way possible.
Extortion.
Well, the city is utilizing SU-47 to compel the construction of public amenities.
Oh, the parks.
Yes. If you build under this zoning, you must construct adjacent sidewalks. And if the city's master plan includes a greenway or multi-use path near your parcel, the developer is legally obligated to build that path within 3 years.
Wow.
They are even required to fund trailheads, benches, and public restrooms.
That is, the implicit bargain is fascinating.
Right.
The city absorbs the industrial footprint, and in return, the tech conglomerate builds a public park.
Exactly.
It is a deliberate strategy to offset the stark industrial nature of the facilities with tangible, immediate community benefits.
Give the people something they can actually use.
Right. However, the SU-47 blueprint also includes a comprehensive operations plan designed to directly address the resource panic that prompted the moratoriums in other counties in the first place.
Right, because a park doesn't solve a brownout.
Exactly.
So the operations mandates require developers to submit these will serve letters from the primary utility providers.
Providers like AES Indiana for electricity and Citizens Energy Group for water.
Right. And I want to drill down into the mechanics of why these letters are critical. The developers must legally verify that they have secured adequate capacity without jeopardizing the existing network.
And the physics of electrical grids make that verification absolutely vital.
Because of the surge.
Exactly. If a facility powering tens of thousands of servers powers up or experiences a surge, it can cause severe line voltage fluctuations.
Like the lights flickering.
Worse. For a nearby resident, a voltage drop doesn't just dim the lights. It can permanently damage the compressors in refrigerators or the circuitry in HVAC systems.
Oh, wow. So it literally destroys your appliances.
Right. So the will serve letters are a contractual guarantee that the hyperscale draw is completely isolated from residential reliability.
That makes sense. The ordinance also mandates a thorough decommissioning plan.
Right. For the end of life.
Yeah. If the technology becomes obsolete and the operator abandons the site, the city refuses to be left with a colossal concrete husk.
A giant empty bunker.
Right. The developer must document the protocols for hazardous material removal, the precise tracking of all e-waste generated by the dead servers, and the financial mechanism for restoring the site to code.
So on its face, the SU-47 framework appears to be a really sophisticated, multi-layered compromise.
It sounds pretty good on paper.
Yeah, the municipality secures the high-paying jobs and the infrastructure, safeguards the grid, and conceals the industrial reality behind evergreen trees and earthen berms.
Yet, our sources indicate that consumer and environmental advocates view the ordinance as catastrophically flawed.
Oh, they're not happy.
Not at all. They are combing through the dense regulations and identifying what they consider to be gaping loopholes.
And the most visceral debate centers on the acoustic regulations, right?
Yes, the noise. And the noise debate requires us to really understand the acoustic nature of these facilities. The ordinance establishes a maximum noise threshold of 65 decibels measured at the property line.
Okay, let's contextualize 65 decibels for a second.
Please.
If you look at standard acoustic measurements, 65 decibels is equivalent to like an animated loud conversation or a vacuum cleaner operating in the same room.
Okay, but the critical difference is the duration and the frequency.
Exactly.
Because a vacuum cleaner runs for, what, 20 minutes?
Right. A data center's cooling infrastructure generates a constant, unrelenting, low-frequency hum 24 hours a day.
It never stops.
Never.
Yeah.
And low-frequency sound waves travel further and penetrate physical barriers, like residential walls and windows, far more effectively than higher-frequency noises.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. So it just goes right through your living room wall.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine owning a home adjacent to an SU-47 district. The municipal code declares your property protected, but the physical reality is the acoustic equivalent of a vacuum cleaner running at the edge of your lawn every single second of the year.
It would drive you crazy.
The psychological fatigue of that unrelenting low-frequency hum fundamentally alters the livability of a neighborhood.
Which perfectly encapsulates why advocates, including Ben Inskeep from the Citizens Action Coalition, characterize the SU-47 regulations not as a protective shield for residents, but basically as a bureaucratic green light for developers.
Just a rubber stamped to impose industrial burdens on residential communities.
Right.
And the scrutiny from environmental organizations extends far beyond just the acoustic footprint. There is a fierce debate regarding the energy sources required to sustain that perpetual electrical draw.
Oh, yeah. The Hoosier Environmental Council has been particularly vocal regarding the energy portfolio.
Because of the renewables issue.
Yes. The SU-47 zoning language explicitly states that the integration of renewable energy, so wind, solar, geothermal, is encouraged but not required.
And encouraged is a totally toothless verb in municipal zoning.
It means nothing.
Especially when you're negotiating with developers whose entire model is focused on minimizing capital expenditure and maximizing uptime.
Exactly. And the broader energy landscape in central Indiana exacerbates that concern entirely.
Right. What's happening with the grid there?
Well, AES Indiana, the primary electric service provider, recently outlined strategic plans indicating an increased reliance on natural gas to meet the projected demand spikes from this impending wave of data centers.
So they're burning more fossil fuels just to keep the servers cool.
Right.
Furthermore, the SU-47 ordinance omits any requirement for a comprehensive pollution impact study.
Which is wild.
It is. Developers are not obligated to quantify how their immense energy consumption might accelerate local emissions or degrade regional air quality.
None of it.
We have this absurd scenario where the city is meticulously regulating the height of fences and the planting of evergreen trees.
The fake hills.
Right. Yet they're remaining entirely silent on the carbon footprint and clean energy mandates for facilities that consume more power than entire towns.
Now, what's fascinating here is the structural defense mounted by the city's planners.
How do they justify that?
Well, the Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development asserts that this omission isn't a lack of political will, but it's actually a strict legal boundary.
Yeah.
They contend they literally lack the statutory authority to regulate air and water quality directly.
I have to push back on that, though. It feels incredibly convenient for a local government to draft comprehensive zoning for industrial facilities while claiming total impotence regarding the environmental fallout of those exact same facilities.
Oh, it definitely feels like a cop-out, but it highlights a really complex jurisdictional architecture.
Like a jurisdictional hot potato.
Exactly. Under Indiana law, local zoning commissions are strictly confined to land use governance.
So parcel setbacks, building heights, the aesthetic screening, and acoustic limits.
Right. The regulation of complex environmental metrics falls exclusively to state-level bureaucracies.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, or IDEM, holds the sole authority to issue or deny water discharge and air emission permits.
And what about the power?
Simultaneously, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission governs the state's power generation and distribution.
Wow. So a local neighborhood fighting a proposed development is just caught in this massive bureaucratic maze.
A total maze.
They petition their city council regarding air quality, and the city just points to the state house saying their jurisdiction ends at the property line, landscaping.
We just do the trees.
Right. Then they petition the state environmental agency.
And IDEM's official posture is deeply, deeply bureaucratic.
What do they say?
They recently issued a formal statement clarifying that their permitting process is strictly technical, rooted entirely in statutory compliance.
So they don't care if the neighbors hate it.
They explicitly noted they do not possess the legal authority to deny a permit based on public opposition or neighborhood sentiment.
It leaves the local residents entirely disenfranchised.
Completely.
The zoning board regulates the aesthetics, the state agency regulates the technical emissions, and neither body possesses a mandate to address the holistic lived experience of the community that actually has to absorb the infrastructure.
And I think that's the core of it. We are witnessing local zoning boards being forced to grapple with the physical manifestations of global technological shifts.
It's way above their pay grade.
Exactly. The proliferation of artificial intelligence and cloud computing is borderless, but the servers processing those algorithms must physically exist in a specific zip code.
Somebody's backyard.
Right. And the officials governing that zip code are equipped only with the blunt instruments of municipal zoning, noise caps, setbacks, and landscaping mandates to somehow manage a technological revolution.
So what does this all mean?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
The next time you utilize an AI chatbot to draft an email or stream a 4K movie to your television, recognize that you are not engaging with an ethereal, invisible network.
Not at all.
You are actively triggering a mechanical response in a colossal, heavily fortified concrete structure.
Right.
You are drawing upon millions of gallons of water required to prevent silicon from overheating and commanding a relentless flow of electricity from the grid.
The physical cost is very real.
It is. The conflict playing out in Indianapolis demonstrates that your local city council is stationed on the absolute front lines of an unwinnable balancing act, trying to harmonize humanity's infinite appetite for digital consumption with the finite realities of physical space and municipal resources.
And the physical footprint of our digital lives is expanding at a staggering velocity. The friction between that expansion and community preservation is only going to intensify.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which leaves me pondering a rather profound eventuality.
What's that?
Well, modern society, from our financial markets to our healthcare systems and our daily communications, is structurally dependent on the continuous operation of these hyperscale facilities.
We literally can't function without them.
Right. Yet, if local municipalities across the country continue to utilize moratoriums and restrictive zoning to defend their resources and banish these structures from their borders, we are heading toward an inevitable systemic bottleneck.
A total gridlock.
Exactly. So here's the thought to leave you with. Will we reach a critical threshold where the federal government determines that cloud computing is too essential to be thwarted by local zoning boards? We might soon see a reality where federal mandates override local land use laws, declaring data centers as national security infrastructure immune to neighborhood pushback.
That tension between national digital dominance and local municipal sovereignty is just beginning.
It really is something to think about the next time you connect to the cloud. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.